You're listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast, and on this episode, we're going over some of our 2023 year-end recommendations, movies, TV, music, and more. Here we go. You are listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bernie Gonzalez, and on this episode, we are taking a look back, a year in review, 2023. We digested, watched, read, listened to a lot of good stuff. Movies, TV shows, books, live music, comics, you name it. There was a lot of good stuff in 2023. So we decided to bring in some Fan2Fan All-Stars, the hashtag Stranger Friends, to share some of their 2023 year-end recommendations that may already be on your list, or after we discuss them, may make their way to your list. So along with co-host Pete Charbonneau, we have joining us Brooke, Alan, Rebecca, and John. Again, the hashtag Stranger Friends. All right, Rebecca, start us off. Let's share something that you enjoyed.
So I have to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Miles, you have a choice between saving one person and saving every world.
Everyone's telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Follow up to my favorite ever movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. While that still holds the place of number one because the feeling that I got from seeing it the first time can't be beat. The visuals in this movie, the animation definitely surpasses what was in the first one, which was already incredible. I've watched it a couple of times. I need to watch it 1,000 more. It was just really, really good and really interesting and different from the first one, but similar enough that it, was cohesive and just totally enjoyable. And everyone should watch both movies. But the thing about this year was the second one coming out. It was fantastic.
I really like that the Miles Morales Spider-Man movies have kind of made like their own corner. They already had their own corner in like the superhero world, but the fact that now people that were not into comics now know who these characters are and seem to really love them. The animation style is also very unique to both of these movies. And it seems like in the second one, they really leaned into it. All the stuff that people have kind of grown up with Spider-Man in comics, Power Records, Saturday morning cartoons, toys, the one live action TV series, the Tobey Maguire movies, all the way to Tom Holland and the new MCU. But now here's this whole new version of Spider-Man for a whole new generation. It's pretty cool.
The art style too, you're starting to already see is influencing other movies. We saw the new Ninja Turtles movie, and that art style, while different, the Spider-Verse movies opened that up an opportunity. So it's pretty cool that's becoming more common. So people are being exposed just by simple, fun movies they're not simple. They're actually quite complex, but by just enjoying movies, being exposed to some amazing art and comic book based art that maybe they wouldn't have before.
Brooke, how about you?
I saw lots of good movies this year. I saw Oppenheimer, which was wonderful.
They have a bomb. There were rumors of espionage. There was no spy at Los Alamos. They just fired a starting gun.
Oppenheimer in cinemas July 21.
And then in the same weekend, I saw Barbie.
Okay, so you were part of the Barbenheimer effect, right?
Yes, I was. I saw Oppenheimer first, and then the next day, or maybe it was 2 days later, I saw Barbie. And both were excellent in completely different ways. Barbie was obviously, I went into it just not knowing how deep of a movie it was and the message it would have. I thought it was just going to be, a fun little blip of a movie, but it was so much more than that. Oppenheimer, I only saw once, but I feel like I need to see it at least 2 more times to fully engage with it and really get some of the things that I'm looking back at now. And I'm thinking, I've got to rewatch that. The score in that movie was so well placed and so well done, in my opinion. Some people say that Nolan overdoes it with the score, but I disagree. I love the effect of his scores, and that's why I enjoyed, the Batman movies that he did so much, because I felt like He did such a great job with creating that emotion with his score. And then I saw Air, which was really good. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. That was a great story. It really stuck to the point. There was no like side stories that were unneeded. So I really appreciated that movie. And of course, I have a child, so I saw Super Mario Brothers movie, which was great. It was a really cute movie.
Mommy's with the maggots now.
This is what happened to Mom. It happened to us. Open up now.
Evil Dead Rise was actually pretty good. It started out great. I liked the ending. There were parts of it that were kind of off and out there and not perfect by any means, but I thought for modern horror, it was pretty entertaining.
Did you think it lived up to like the Evil Dead franchise, like the tone of probably more 2 and what we know from like Army of Darkness and the series?
No, you can't. It was a totally different movie in my opinion, and you can't copy that. Like to me, Evil Dead, the original, is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. But this, I felt like was just a completely different thing. If it was called something different, it would have been even better because I was like kind of comparing it in my mind the whole time. But I thought it really, towards the end, it really picked up and really gained my interest again. And they did a lot of stuff with gore that modern horror doesn't do, which I thought was cool. Of course, that brand new one, No One Will Save You with the aliens, that was really good. I feel like I have to watch that again because that was definitely not just a run-of-the-mill horror movie. That was definitely a thinker. So as far as movies go, I think there was a lot of good films this year.
Alan, any movies that you watched this year that you want to share?
Yeah, I'm a huge Wes Anderson fan, as you guys know. We watched Asteroid City. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but if you love Wes Anderson and you have to speak the language to really appreciate Asteroid City because it's a Wes Anderson inside of a Wes Anderson inside. It's a Wes Anderson Russian nesting doll, but it's really good for the fans. It's totally for the fans. I mean, he's got everybody, all the players. It's meticulous in his style. Rebecca and I went to see it in the same independent movie theater that we see all of our Wes Anderson movies. We saw it middle of the day on a weekday, playing hooky from work. It's a tradition. French Dispatch, Moonrise Kingdom, all the latest movies, Grand Budapest. We've done the same thing. So that was really fun.
The Guardians of the Galaxy have no place in my world.
Kiss your mom with that face?
Oh, no.
Some corners of the universe consider him God.
It's a face-off. Well, I guess we'll die trying. I decided die trying ain't our thing no more.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Get tickets.
I'm also a big Marvel fan. I was happy to see that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 may have straightened out the movie part of the Marvel Universe a little bit. It sort of restored that, storytelling and thought-provoking sort of action sequences, pushing the envelope a little bit. As far as that goes, the way that it was shot, it was definitely a step forward from all of the trash they've been putting out, like Thor: Love and Thunder and the Eternals, and I feel like they got back in the driver's seat. We'll see what happens from here. We know Spider-Man's in good hands with Tom Holland, so I agree with Brooke. Air was one that you watch here at home, thoroughly entertained by Air. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, still able to come together and somehow make good movies. It's so strange how the two of them can just make really fucking bad movies and then really, really good movies. And Air is one of them that they absolutely knock out of the park together. It's so thoroughly entertaining. It's a family movie. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Bex mentioned it a little bit. So our younger daughter, Edie, she loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie over the new Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse movie.
Wow.
It was just more her style.
The world's last hope are these four brothers.
Let's gear up!
They're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It's actually a pretty good title.
Only theaters.
And I think that it was a movie that was aimed at middle school kids, and she's in middle school. All the voice actors were young teenage kids. They didn't use adults who sounded like kids. There was no Corey Feldman. We all love Corey Feldman in this group, but they're one of the original voices of Donatello. It was an effort to sort of be more of a kid's movie, I think, than Across the Spider-Verse. And I just found myself like dying or every time Ice Cube opened his mouth and played the baddie. In the movie, played the bad guy.
Was it Superfly? I think was his name.
Superfly. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Just chews up the lines. It just eats like he's eating alphabet soup.
Speaking of Corey Feldman, and speaking of end of the year and music, Corey Feldman and his band are playing Tempe, Arizona, and yours truly planning on being in attendance. So get ready. Get ready, socials, for video, photos.
We're all expecting that Pete will not only become Corey Feldman's personal assistant by the end of the show, but also his best friend.
I think he needs to be his manager.
His drug dealer, his therapist. He could do it all. Pete can bring a lot of different things to our friendship. So to a Corey ship.
Just make sure you don't shave off the mustache because that makes you look really serious, Pete.
Why would I do that before seeing Corey Feldman live?
You're right. I know.
I mean, you might as well just lock me up. And if I shave off the mustache before that attempt to see Corey Feldman live,
I heard you guys might write Dream a Little Dream 3 before the end of the night. So that's it.
License to Drive 2, except this time it's Corey and Pete.
The one Corey.
I don't want to give too much away, but there's a really good chance of all of those things coming to fruition. I think the first question I have for Corey when I meet him is going to be, what's up with the youth?
Can you ask him where the Angels are and where you could possibly buy one for an hour or two?
I'm hoping that there's going to be some Angels on stage, although it sounds like his band is different from the Corey's Angels.
Oh, that's a letdown.
But that's the great thing about it. Like, I really have no fucking idea what I'm in for. And so it's going to be, there'll need to be some whiskey involved.
Remember, you can find the Fan2Fan Podcast at www.fanpodcast.com. Facebook, just search Fan2Fan Podcast. That's FAN, the number 2, FAN.
On Instagram at Fan2Fan Podcast.
Or on Twitter at Fan2Fan Podcast.
We'd love to hear from you, so send a message and let us know what you think of the show. Thanks.
And now, on with the show.
One of my favorite artists, Lydia Lovelace. She's like an alt country artist, just released an album a couple weeks ago, and it's off the charts amazing. She's actually she lived in this area where I live for last few years. She's moved recently, and I've seen her live a couple times, and she's amazing. So if anyone likes alt country, definitely check out Lydia Lovelace.
Well, and one thing that Pete, myself, and Brooke were talking about, kind of similar, or fits into the 80s theme, is kind of the return of some 80s sounding music, which is like a synth wave driving type music, like Time Cop. Was it FM 84? 84. There's a couple bands that have like the years, and I get them confused a little bit. But if you're into like awesome driving music with synth and great atmospheric feels, those bands like Time Cop and FM 84, you could just kind of do a deep dive through them on Spotify. There's so many of them. It's been kind of fun to hear some music return to some 80s, inspiration and feels.
Alan, Rebecca, any music because you guys are, Alan, Rebecca, you guys are good concert goers. Any good concerts, live music you guys checked out this year?
Yeah. We love live music. We support it. Like, it's a great time going out. We just went to Boston's newest venue, MGM Music Hall. It's over in the Fenway, actually literally attached to Fenway. Massive area that they have. It's a huge pit surrounded sort of like by an amphitheater. And we saw Death Cab for Cutie and Postal Service, which is essentially just Death Cab for Cutie with Jenny Lewis, played together. It was the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
Of Transatlanticism and
Give Up.
And
if you ever wanted to feel old, just say that sentence again, Alan. Thank you.
Yeah, but it was something else to see them play. I mean, I should say, Rebecca burrowed to the front of the stage and anchored herself there, and we took in about 4 hours of Ben Gibbard dancing around the stage and just performing his ass off, and only the way that Death Cab and Postal Service fans can understand. And then we were treated to Jenny Lewis setting up her area right in front of us, and then being 10 feet away at maximum for the entire show, and just doing that like tongue-in-cheek, like winky sort of like lounge singer thing that she does. And also Jenny Lewis shreds on the axe. All right. That woman can play the guitar. And then Rebecca has a little sidebar story on that.
So I now have her guitar pick that she threw from the show because we were right in front of her. So that was pretty exciting. There's a lot of returning bands this year, like people coming back together, reunions and anniversary tours and stuff.
Fucking Fall Out Boy in Fenway Park on a Wednesday night.
Yes.
Who doesn't love Fall Out Boy? Come on. And they're doing that cover of We Didn't Start the Fire with the new stuff in there.
That's right.
I think there's a huge push for live music again, obviously coming out of the pandemic. And like, I think between fans and the artists that were cooped up and, you know, maybe trying to write new stuff, but could not go out and perform it. Not surprisingly, because, you know, as a huge live music fan myself and just a music fan in general, like I was chomping at the bit to just get back and experience the like live setting again, just because, you know, it's such an experience to kind of just be amongst the throng of people and seeing a favorite band or discovering a new band. It's still one of the most amazing experiences that I have on a regular basis.
Definitely look out for your smaller venues and your unknown bands. Well, first of all, the big bands, all the tickets are crazy expensive now. So that's really tough. But now that we live in the world that we do, and with the access on social media and TikTok is, you know, I find a ton of new music through there. You never know when one of these bands is going to hit. And then you may have gotten to see them, not saying before everyone else did, but more importantly, before the tickets were $150 before fees.
Like Pete and I saw the Killers open for another band back in the day in Boston for $10. So yeah, you just never know when you're going to be seeing the next huge band. Got to support local music or live music, I should say.
Check the schedules and what they have, and like look into the band, see if you like them a little bit, and then give them a chance.
We've had a great year in music over here in Boston. So,
well, I'm always playing music in my living room. So if anybody wants to stop by, I'll even give you a drink or something. You could sit on the couch, just hang, listen to some '80s tunes.
Just play the hits, John.
$75 gets you.
I do.
Just great live music.
It's like an '80s karaoke. I think you come out making money if you come visit me.
Nice. So from music, let's go to TV shows. If any TV shows that you guys enjoyed this year, I'll just throw some out to kind of get things started. The Bear season 2, it's a great show. Season 1 was amazing. I think season 2 was not a disappointment at all. If anything, I think when shows don't do the thing where they try to expand, they actually kind of contract and decide to focus on the characters and put existing characters like in situations where they have to deal with each other. Like, oh, you've never seen this chef deal with this person. I think the Bear season 2 did that so well, and it was so good. Succession, the last season, huge fan of that show. Did not disappoint. There's something that's it's kind of a melancholy show when you think about it, because it's, you know, definitely a commentary on like our world today. And it's not necessarily the best commentary, but there's something about the writing that I always really appreciated, and the fact that it had a little tongue in cheek when, you know, it was talking about people with money and how maybe happiness money doesn't really buy you happiness, you know, stuff like that. So a few TV shows that I loved. How about you guys? Some TV shows that you watched in 2023 that you really enjoyed?
Beef was good. We ate that up in like 2 days?
It was amazing. With Stephen Ewan.
Yeah, him and another driver literally get into beef because of a kind of like a traffic situation, and it turns out to be something even more.
Yeah, comedian Ali Wong. And yeah, they have like a road rage incident, and then it's just a lot of back and forth and revenge, and it just gets like really crazy and out of hand. But it's also really funny in different parts.
Kind of existential by the end. So. And I will say I cannot stress enough to watch the Johnny, if you're a sports fan, the Johnny Manziel documentary that just came out. I believe it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Fascinating look at, you know, the life of you know, somebody who basically was a very good backyard style college football player, but like was never really actually that good. But what he was really good at was being a celebrity, being fucking nuts. But it's a documentary that'll just, if you're a sports fan, will suck you in for you know, a couple of hours. Totally worth a watch.
I think after Bill Simmons kind of introduced the 30 for 30 stuff at ESPN, we started to see a lot more of that really getting into the weeds, sports stuff. Like Last Dance, I think couldn't have happened unless 30 for 30 kind of created that template. Then like Netflix ran with it, and they've done some deep dives on the Olympics. And I remember my wife and I saw one on like Olympic skating, and it was something in the 80s where some judges were corrupt. And it was interesting, even if it's not necessarily a sport that you love, sometimes the storytelling in those documentaries makes it interesting. So I'll have to check that one out, because I remember I've seen the thumbnail, Alan, on Netflix. And while I've never been a big Mansell fan, sometimes those documentaries about people you don't like are still likable.
The another good one that came out this year is the Manti Te'o documentary. And
that's right.
As far as reality television goes, I don't know if anybody else is a fan, but we are huge Kitchen Nightmares fans. It's a show that was on from 2007 to 2014. Gordon Ramsay. Interesting sort of like questions about whether it was legitimate, and a lot of legal troubles with the show, and some very legendary episodes like Amy's Baking Company from the last episode of season 6. This is how well we know Kitchen Nightmares. We watch it all the time, and it has returned in 2023.
Just came back,
but the first episode is the Bel Air Diner in Astoria, which we have been to, so that was extra exciting to watch and know that we ate food from that fucking hellhole. It's very exciting to have something comfortable in terms of a reality show come back after being gone for almost like a decade.
I think we got a theme for all the stuff that we've liked this year.
Yeah.
Sequels and reunion shows.
We're very shallow. We just need like comfort and
nothing wrong with that.
To fall asleep with. So
well, you said reality TV, and I'm not usually a big fan, but like Welcome to Wrexham was like my nice like comfort blanket. Ryan Reynolds and the other guy, right, McElhenney, and how they set up Wrexham, and it's become its own separate thing. But I always appreciate it that they have an awareness, or even maybe less ego, to actually put a lens on the people and how this whole like phenomenon has impacted the people of the town, both on the business side, for mostly for good. But I think also having an awareness to be like, let's kind of show how this is as much a business as it is something where it's like, yeah, you may think of it as a gimmick, but this is at least something real that they're trying to make presented in a real way. So I appreciate that. But that one, Alan, to your point, like that always made me feel good. I was like, I like these guys. I don't know if these guys are like this, but I appreciate what they're doing.
But just, one more that is probably cause for some debate, because I know like people either loved it or I think that they hated it because it felt like The Walking Dead was The Last of Us on HBO. We loved it because, again, we like things that comfort us. We like things that remind us of other things. And The Last of Us just, it hit that tone, I think, that The Walking Dead had in its prime seasons 2, 3, 4 before the governor came and made it more comic booky. I think anytime you can get Pedro Pascal doing the work that he's doing in here, you're benefiting. I forget the actress's name. She's also from Game of Thrones.
That's right.
Hilarious and endearing and, deadly in the show. And so I would definitely check it out. I've had people like text me while it was on and be like, "This, I don't know what this shit is. It's this is a Walking Dead ripoff." And I've had people, they're friends that I trust, who love it.
That one episode with Nick Offerman is one of the best episodes.
Hands down.
The previously mentioned Murray Bartlett.
That's right. Yep. I remember watching that episode, my wife and I, and like it was towards the end. It's like looking at each other and being like, "Oh yeah, we're both crying."
I do have a recommendation. I don't know if the newest season was this year. It may have been a couple of years ago, but not a lot of people know about the show. It's called Wellington Paranormal, and it is a mockumentary show on HBO Max. And it's and I forgot about this part because it's based on characters from What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. It's the inspectors that come to show up to investigate, and they did like a spin-off show on it. So it's created by Jermaine Clement, and I always mispronounce Waititi's first name.
Sounds right.
Taika Waititi.
Jerry.
Yes, Jerry Waititi. That's easier. Yeah, that's a lot easier. Clement directs most of the first season, and it's one of those shows that sometimes misses a little bit, but when it hits, it's fucking hysterical. And it obviously has that extremely dry wit that, people have come to know from, like, whether it's Flight of the Conchords or, What We Do in the Shadows. So I definitely recommend that one. I watched a show with my daughter called Julie and the Phantoms, which was really fun and really serious and had us all crying a bit. But it was about, it's when I tell you what it's about, you can be like, what the hell? But it's a Netflix show with one of the guys that does all of the Disney like musical shows like Descendants. But he did this show called Julie and the Phantoms, and it's about a teen band in the 90s that all die from eating bad hot dogs. I just can't make this up. Okay. And while that sounds like the worst premise ever, they come back as spirits to this girl who lost her mom. So she's living with her dad and her brother. Her mom passed away, and there's like a connection to the other side there. And they come back to basically reinvigorate this girl's passion of music. And they're able to, while they're playing and performing, they're able to be seen. So it's very strange. So she has to keep passing it off as like a hologram kind of a show, but it's like really kind of deep in some ways. It has some good comedy, kind of ridiculous characters in a lot of ways, but it's definitely hit on more of a dramatic level than any of us thought when a show starts with everybody dying from eating bad hot dogs.
When you mentioned the guy who does all of it, it's Kenny Ortega, right?
Yes, Kenny Ortega. Yep. Yeah. Great music, unbelievable talent. It's unbelievable.
That's funny. When I was in high school in the 90s, we had an entire weekend of Anne of Green Gables wiped out because everybody got food poisoning on one of the lead actors' parents' sub shop. Motherfucker. So
maybe this was one of the dudes was involved and wrote the show.
That was the inspiration.
You're digging into some Winthrop High School history. So
there we go. Boom.